Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to KSB TV. You see already, I'm alone. Today we have a special show because you have seen in the thumbnail already. We have Matt Garbedian, the author of the best-selling book of the Amazon bestseller list. And we have him here in our show today. So let's look into the chat. We have DJ Pollywood already. Let's make some noise from Matt Garbedian. He is on right now. Now is the time to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Also retweet it on Twitter maybe and get some people along so they can listen to Matt Garbedian, why he wrote the book, and all the marketing behind that. So let's bring him on. How's it going, Matt?
Hey, Bit, how are you? I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Really good. Thank you as much. Well, you wrote the book. It was a big success. Maybe you can give a little insight of what was the idea of writing in the book, and then we will discuss furthermore.
Yeah, the idea behind the book, I think writing nowadays is kind of a lost art, because everything's digital. And I think it's a powerful way to communicate. And people like to have financial education that they can pick up and read and put down, highlight, and have a source of information. And I know for me, I've always been a reader, and I'd love to go to like the bookstore and get a stack of books. And, that's helped me in my career, because I think a lot of people that have been successful financially have received a lot of information through, anything from self-help books to financial books to, you name it. A lot of great information is in books. And I just thought it was a great opportunity because I discovered the fact that, kind of how crypto works, the community has to be able to market, and there's no, CEO or marketing department. Like, we're kind of, the marketers. And coming from that background, it just was an opportunity that I saw, and I went for it. So that's really the story behind it.
I have to say right away, I'm so honored when you asked me to write a foreword and to look into a book and to also give you some feedback. So I want to thank you so much. And when I looked into the book, I really understand what a valuable piece that is for the community, because it tells so much, right? It does not only talk about HEX as so many would actually expect, but it talks about a broad topic in cryptocurrency. And this is what we want to get into. But before we talk about the book, let's talk about yourself a little bit. When did you get into crypto?
Well, I bought my first crypto in 2017, and I talk a little bit about that in the book, how I just kind of FOMO'd into it because it was, my friends were doing it, right? And so I bought Bitcoin and I bought Ethereum, had no clue what either of them were designed to do or what cryptocurrency was designed to do. And as soon as it started to drop, I panicked and panic sold. And that was my first exposure into cryptocurrency in 2017.
And also this was discussed in the book, right? I remember reading about that. Well, then finally you found HEX. When did you find out about HEX? And maybe, do you remember what actually drew you to HEX? How did you find out about it?
Yeah, so kind of the same story. So we started looking back into cryptocurrency in late 2020, and a group of friends were discussing it. And then I was invited onto a Zoom call, and this Zoom call was with a individual that was heavily invested into HEX, and he was discussing cryptocurrency in general. But at that particular time, he was very excited about the potential of Cardano. But he said, keep an eye on HEX because of all of the, potential that it would have, because at the time it was still sub one penny when he was discussing it. And of course he was talking about all the great things that HEX is designed to be, but at that time I still have limited knowledge about anything that he was saying. Permissionless, trustless, no counterparty risk, keeping your keys. So all that stuff just flew over my head. I didn't really understand what it meant. Staking, all of those terms. But I just kind of followed his advice. And as it started to increase in value, I started to buy more. And that's really my initial exposure to it, was just because I happened to be at the right place at the right time, and I got good advice.
All right, so you got good advice. You learned a little bit more about it. So this last question of the segment is, what is your favorite part of the HEX game theory? Because for me, for example, it was definitely the staking, that I staked it and then the truth engine basically watching over me and not having the problem of selling too early, for example. Definitely my favorite feature. What is your favorite part of the HEX game theory?
It's a great question, and maybe this isn't as profound as everyone else when they've heard this, but when I first heard that like cryptocurrency was programmable money, and if it's programmable, what would be the first thing you would program? Interest. And I was like, wow, like that was so powerful for me to learn and to understand. So to answer your question, staking, right? Because everyone's looking for passive income. And then the fact that, now that we learned the power of having your own keys and having a trustless without counterparty risk, and all of those boxes are checked with HEX. So that is what made it a no-brainer for me.
Also, for the HEX Lion, this is his favorite phrase. What is the first thing you should program into a cryptocurrency? Programmable money. Definitely something that was clicking for me as well. Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. We have a question here from the chat. Abundant is saying, that's the Hypercast mic. Is that correct? That you're using?
Yes.
All right. And I'm just using a normal lavalier microphone because it's easier to travel with that. All right, so we talked about HEX when you got into that. To get into the next topic, the marketing. And what do you think, Richard Hart's Outrage marketing, do you think it's working?
It's working, yeah. I mean, I think eyeballs are currency. So, any way you could get eyeballs or press, good or bad, it still provides impact. So for me, outrage marketing doesn't bother me. I mean, you look at a lot of figures that have a lot of eyeballs, a lot of notoriety. A lot of them go with the shock and awe because there's so much noise, as you know. There's some, people's attention spans are like this now. So in order to capture someone's interest and their attention, you have to do something to do outside of what the normal marketing methods are. So I don't care if he's shocking and awing. It's part of what you have to do to get attention these days. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's just what it is.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I believe the outright marketing is working perfectly. I mean, HEX did 10,000x. I believe we couldn't do any better. And you mentioned the staking, your favorite part of the HEX game theory. Like, could you imagine? A lot of people are not aware. If your coin does 10,000x, right? This is before staking. The people that staked in this time were able to do 2x on top of that. So I think that's crazy. Also, one of my favorite parts in HEX for sure. Powerful. So let's talk about the book a little bit more in depth. So I said it already in the introduction. It's not specifically about HEX. It talks about a broad variety. Do you maybe want to mention like one or two topics, and then we could go deeper into that?
Sure. I think the opening of the book talks about what other options are out there, with the premise or the idea of, if people are trying to chase financial freedom. And I think financial freedom for me is time freedom. I learned early on that, most of the people that have become wealthy or rich, if you will, learned very early on that they don't want to trade their time for money, because time is the most precious commodity that there is. We can't get more of it. Like, everyone has the same 24 hours, and once it's gone forever. And nothing is obviously guaranteed for tomorrow. So when people started to understand the concept of, I rather trade my money for time, that's the separator, like that's the differentiator. So I tried to come with the idea of, if all things are equal and we tried to buy back our time, what would be the best asset to do that? so I looked at real estate because that's where my background is. I looked at stocks. I looked at traditional methods like a savings account, a 401k, and then I looked at crypto. And I tried to compare and contrast and give positives and negatives for both. So with all that being said, I tried to compare and contrast all of those things.
Well, one thing that I remember reading in the book was the comparison about real estate, that this kind of wealth would take generation to accumulate with the gains that you make in real estate. And maybe can talk a little bit about the numbers, because I remember a specific calculation, basically, where you talked about how many gains you could expect in cryptocurrency. So if you pitch to people, if you talk to people about cryptocurrency, what do you tell them? What is the potential of cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moonshot theories, right? There's, a lot of, you get on Twitter and people like have these grandiose ideas, but I simply look at history. There's enough historical data out there. Everything's on chain. Everyone can look at where it started and where it had climbed to. I like to make I love the graphs. I think you can maybe help me with the person that's done like the layer 1 potential, the decentralized exchange potential for PulseChain and PulseX. Hex McKinsey, I think it is.
I think so too. Yeah, I definitely remember seeing that chart, and I think Hex McKinsey could be the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I looked at that, I said, wow, like the average return of a layer 1 has done 650x. And a DEX has done something similar. That alone just blew my mind. I mean, making 650 times your money is super, super difficult to do in any other asset class. And in crypto, that's like an average return. Now we're talking about, what Hex has done at 10,000. You look at Ethereum, you look at Bitcoin. I mean, they've made enormous returns. So, of course, people that don't understand the power of crypto and you tell them these things are possible, initially they're going to be like, well, that sounds like a scam. And I don't blame them because it's so unheard of. And it's not practical in, these traditional asset classes. Because in my world, when someone can make a 20% return in real estate, that's like fantastic. 20%. So we're talking about an average return of some of these cryptos doing 650, and people are like, okay, tell me when you're pulling my leg.
For sure. Another topic in the book I remember was when you were talking about the power of cryptocurrency, of blockchains, and how it is possible to defeat government. Maybe you can give me an elevator pitch out of that book segment as well.
Yeah, I talked about all of the freedoms that we have with our Constitution: freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of movement. And I think, I don't want to go down the conspiracy route because, that show's not about that. But, I'm weary. I'm weary of the government. I don't necessarily believe they have the people's best interest at heart. I think, as time goes on, I think more control is the motive of the government. I think they have definitely put their thumbs on a lot of people, and crypto gives us the opportunity to become wealthy enough to have choices and to have the power to make decisions apart from what the government thinks is in our best interest. If I feel like my family is in danger, I want to be in the position to make a financial decision in a split second, as opposed to having to wait for the bank to send the wire, or wait for the next day to go into the bank and ask them to give me my money. It's kind of crazy to me about when you start looking at it, like where I have to get on the phone and explain to my banker as to why I want to wire X amount of money to this particular person or business. And they ask me things like, what's it for? Do you know this person? Have you ever done business with them? Did they promise you a certain amount of return when you sent this money? I mean, I think that's bizarre. It's my money. Why do you care what I do with it? You know? So kind of alluding back to your question, I think crypto gives us that opportunity to take back the control and have options. And I think that's the biggest piece that we can strive for.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you on the bank and how corrupt they can be. I mean, it led me to go and travel the world in order to find a bank that I could trust, that I can do my business, right? And still, even today, I have problems sometimes with my card paying. And I just think, like, who is actually in control of that money? And in cryptocurrency, it is you who is in control all the time, right? That is exactly what we were teaching on the 5555 tour, for example, being your own bank.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's dive a little bit more into the marketing side of the book. Maybe can you share a couple of numbers? How many downloads has the book got, or how many books did you send out? Do you have something to share like this? How many impressions?
Yeah,
maybe?
actually, Amazon is a little bit slow on hard copy sales, and the Kindle numbers are not out yet. But I know we've done pretty well because in the last couple of weeks we were ranked. At one point, we were ranked #1 in certain categories. I think at least we did 350 books were purchased at an event that I went to, and we gave them out to everybody in attendance. That was before anything was even announced. And then I've probably gotten, at least 100 to 200. Well, that's a big gap. At least 150 responses through Twitter of fellow Hexicans, like showing pictures of the book that they've purchased. So I feel confident in saying we're probably somewhere in the ballpark of 700 to 800 hard copy sales that I've seen. And not everyone has messaged me that they've bought it. And then Kindle version was ranked high as well. So I think we're probably at least, over 1,000 books sold, which is cool. Like, I think as we start getting more attention to it and people share it and get positive reviews, every review we've had on Amazon's been 5-star. So, if I could get 10,000 copies sold, I think that would be amazing. We've got some work to do, but especially within 2 weeks or so, I would say we're probably like around 1,000 books sold.
Well, that's amazing. We have already a couple of people here asking for the link. KSB TV just published the link, hexphenom.com. That's where you also find the videos of you explaining a little bit of what to find. So I think everybody should go there, get your copy of the book in digital or in hard copy form. I actually got both, and I got mine sent to KSB TV, to our CEO Kalen. So one day I will read it, but I was all ready to read the digital version, so that was fun. And then obviously, like you said, you sold 1,000 copies. You're expecting 10,000 copies in the future. And from what I experienced in the past with this kind of marketing, well, it really makes a difference once you have the community buying the books first, then maybe telling the friends and family about it. And yes, also the really most important part, I believe, is posting it on social media. And we had so many Hexicans doing exactly that. So I want to encourage everybody, if you got the book, maybe read it, write a little review for it, and then also post your opinion about it on YouTube. That would help to make this marketing scale for Hex and bring the ice ball that Hex really, really wants.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not a for-profit thing at all. I actually give the book away. You just have to pay the shipping costs. And I should note, if you're watching this out of the United States, it's hard for me to send the hard copy internationally. There's still a downloadable version at that site. But my recommendation is, if you are out of the States, just better to go to Amazon to get your hard copy, or just buy Kindle.
100%. I was one of the ones that got the book for free. All I had to do, like you said, was the shipping cost. That was no problem at all. And then in like 7 days or something like this, I got the book. So this was pretty cool. So Matt, what did you learn while you were writing the book? I mean, it is a book with a lot of value in there. And you said that in one of your videos as well. Like, did you learn anything while you were writing it?
Oh, it's a great question. Absolutely. Like, that's one of the advantages I see when you get to write a book. It forces you to learn and focus and go deeper into the subjects. I've learned so much just about cryptocurrency in general over the last couple of years. You know, prior to that, like I mentioned, I didn't really have a whole lot of knowledge. I really didn't feel comfortable speaking the language, if you will, the terminology. And I've learned so much between then and now that it's been priceless. Really, I feel somewhat comfortable now. I'm not at the level of you guys that are streaming every day and can talk about this. You guys are a source of knowledge, but I definitely feel like I could have a conversation now. So it's an ongoing learning process, but I mean, just learning about all of the just the different terms, you know, I didn't even know what a layer one was, right? Prior to writing this book, right? Just to give you an idea. And then I've learned what a DEX, a centralized exchange, what are the differences? What's trustless mean? What's counterparty risk? Even what are your keys? I mean, these are just seem like very simple terms that the average crypto user understands, but they're foreign topics and words and subjects when you are just getting into crypto. So you kind of have to think back however many years ago it was when someone introduced you to this stuff, and it was very difficult. So it took me a long time to like even wrap my head around what the HEX contract does and how it distributes yield and why it's so powerful. And I went through all of the stages of, you know, very excited to like, oh my God, is this a scam? Right. And then just learning about how all of that, you know, fear, uncertainty, and doubt was put on Richard and put on the HEX community because of all the, you know, the hate that is thrown at the community. So I think everybody kind of goes through that as they are introduced into HEX, introduced into the naysayers and what they have to say. Why does so many people want to say negative things? And then I learned, of course, you know, why things are said. And then I'm the type of person to not like take everyone's opinion, but I'll take everyone's opinion at some degree, but I want to go and learn for myself. So then I go and deep dive, and then I want to find the answer for myself. And that's what I did. So I deep dove. I got onto Richard's channel. I just consumed, and also kept an open idea of what other people's things that they had to say. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense because I learned it to be this way. So I just make my own conclusions. And then once I felt confident enough, then I come and give my point of view.
And then there are some words that are just so new that nobody has heard about it, right? You were mentioning, for example, trustless. And imagine me, if I have to explain that to a German, where I take this English word and now translate it into English, into German, that sometimes gives confusion. But I want to ask you, what is your elevator pitch? How would you explain what does trustlessness mean?
That's a great question. I think trustless means that it's you and the contract. You don't need to have permission from anybody to yield your own interest. So when you understand smart contracts and the power of cryptocurrency that can be programmable money, then if you have enough knowledge to understand how a smart contract operates, the fact that it's immutable code. Now we're getting into like a little bit harder terminology, but essentially it's locked and the key's thrown away forever, and it's programmed to be you and that smart contract. And once you can understand how the mechanics of that work, then it's just a matter of sitting back, delaying gratification, and letting your money grow while you sleep. And that goes back to the original goal of earning trustless yield without giving away your time. And that's the power of crypto, and especially HEX.
That was a really great explanation. I just love how you bring the point across. Like I saw obviously the videos of your book, but also the videos on your YouTube channel. That's exactly how I would describe it as well. I often say it's just like a calculator. And if you put the square root of 1 million into the calculator and hit the enter button, then you trust this calculator that this answer is correct because it is written to do so, right? It is just numbers. And Kareem says it's so beautiful sometimes. 2 + 2 is 4. It doesn't matter if you like me or not. And this is exactly what trustless means to me. So Matt, let's talk about your YouTube channel there as well. Since when are you doing it, and like what is your main purpose for doing the YouTube channel?
Yeah, so YouTube, I've been more consistent with it. I started my YouTube channel many years ago, as I mentioned. I have 14 years experience as a real estate investor. So I would probably date back and look at my earlier YouTube videos of just looking at how to build a real estate business, and then entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial advice. But then now kind of looking more, I'm spending more of my time just because I'm so fascinated with crypto. And I think it's such a fascinating topic, and there's so much to learn that I'm now skewing more to being, more crypto focused education wise. So I would say probably over the last 6 to 8 months, all of my videos have been crypto focused for the most part. But I definitely started building more of an audience on Instagram and then TikTok before I moved to YouTube. So I think that's kind of where I'm headed. I definitely see the value of building an audience, and then once that audience is built, you have an easier time of generating more audience on YouTube, which I think is the harder platform to build on, but definitely the most valuable. So I think I'm just shy of like 1,000 subscribers, but like I've never been live on YouTube. I've never streamed. So that's something I'm definitely looking at doing next, is to start getting consistent, because I know that people like yourself have been consistent on, these platforms and have grown audiences. So that's something that I want to follow suit with.
So as an educator, you wrote the book, you have the YouTube channel. Like I see you put a lot of time in doing that, right? So what do you think? Why is it so important right now to put all that effort in and educate the people in cryptocurrency? Like, what is your answer about that? Like, why is the time so crucial right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of answers to that question. So, like, I think as entrepreneurs, like, we want to help people. Someone helped me when I first started and continues to help me. I have mentors and coaches that I pay and I seek advice and counsel from. And if it wasn't for them, I'm not sure where I'd be in my life. I believe in mentorship and coaches for every facet of your life, as if it's for financial, or if it's mindset, or if it's spiritual, or if it's health related. Everyone should have a mentor to go to ask advice, that those people are where you want to be in your life. And I think a lot of people out there are maybe confused as to how to become financially free. And I think, it's, if we have the information and knowledge, then we're stealing from others by not giving that information to help others.
I think you said it so beautifully. We are stealing from others. I can really relate to that.
Yeah, because we have this information and knowledge, and if you want to talk, well, how does it benefit us? Well, okay, like there should be benefit for everybody, but that's not why we do this. Helping others is its biggest benefit. I love to give more than I receive, truly. So, if I get more joy by helping others than I do by receiving something. So that alone is enough. But the great thing about crypto is we can give away all of the secrets, and it only helps us, because as more people on board, as more people understand the power of crypto, as more people understand what HEX is designed to do, they buy in. And by just the mechanics of crypto, the more buyers there are, the price goes up and everybody wins. So therefore, it's a win-win. We help people, and in turn, the community grows, and a collection of us benefit from that. So I can't see a better win-win-win scenario than that.
We have Madhawk here saying your book is great for onboarding. So is it your strategy now to go into the bar and just take your book with you and then say, hey, this is what you need to learn? Or what is your elevator pitch when you onboard somebody? Like somebody are really aggressive, right? Like me, for example, I'm saying, hey guys, this is a 10,000x opportunity. The HEX line is totally different, totally more conservative. What is your pitch about that?
Good question. I think a great way to approach people is to ask them what their financial goals are. I think a lot of people, maybe you've been, come across this, but like a lot of people are often shy about talking about money for some reason, because I don't know about you, when I grew up, like I didn't come from a home that talked about investing, talked about growing their wealth, talked about how to grow a proper mindset. The only thing I remember about money was like, it doesn't grow on trees, and only rich people can afford those things. So that's the kind of the financial mindset that I was given growing up. So when we sat down at dinner, it wasn't about talking about stocks or real estate or growing our wealth or buying back our time. It was like, well, you got to go to work and pay the bills. And that never really was congruent to me. So now I try to educate people by first asking them what their thoughts are about growing wealth, what they're doing to achieve it. And once I start to understand kind of their mindset and what they're doing, I will then ask them, do you think it's achievable to earn 10,000x on your money, or let alone 39%? Because in the world that I come from, like I mentioned, 39% is crazy. And for us, that's like, okay. But the average person that's not in crypto doesn't understand that. Like, I borrow money in real estate, and if I could give someone 10% on their money, they're thrilled. So 100%. It's just trying to figure out what will move the needle for the person we're talking to, because sometimes they're not going to hear the benefit until they can correlate how that helps them.
And I can tell you, as a German, Germans do not ever talk about money at home or in school. And as in school, you won't learn it anyways, right? So on the Million Pulse Tour, we want to go out and see colleges, for example, speak in front of the youth, right? Because I think this is so important. And what would you tell a young person nowadays, maybe who is in college? Would you recommend going into real estate or just focusing on crypto? Because this is what I'm saying. I'm saying, hey, look, I did not finish up my college degree because I realized I will spend my time in crypto and I do not need the college education for that. What is your spin on that?
That's another good question, but I like to say real estate guys want to get into crypto and crypto guys want to get into real estate. So because the real estate guys see the return that's possible, and the crypto guys already have the return and need to kind of protect their money in other assets as well. So real estate offers great benefits that some of them that crypto doesn't offer, and vice versa. So for example, real estate, you have what they call depreciation. That's a huge benefit on your taxes. When you buy a piece of real estate, you get appreciation, depreciation, and in some cases you get cash flow. So those are all positives in real estate. In crypto, you get massive appreciation during obviously bull market times, and not so much of that tax shelter that you could find in real estate. So when you reach some of these numbers that people have reached in crypto, then it might take some, planning, some estate planning. So sometimes it might be a good option to go buy, a nice piece of real estate, because it's time tested and true. So real estate will always go up in value over a period of time. Plus you get those benefits that I discussed. So I think there's a congruency with both. And so I think we could work together and grow our wealth in both avenues.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, you see it all the times, the Hexicans sending out what kind of mansion they want to buy. And I think it's kind of funny that in those two categories, I think I'm definitely into the second one. I have the cryptos, but I don't have any property, or I don't have anything basically. All I own fits into two luggages, and this is how I travel around. And as a digital nomad, I like it like this a lot, that I do not have any responsibilities. I do not even have the responsibilities of taxes. And this is just why I live so free. I totally love that.
Oh, that's amazing.
And is the taxes also something that you wrote about in your book? I do not remember, because this is also a huge topic in crypto, right? And everybody has thoughts about that.
I'm not you definitely have to seek expert advice on that. I'm not licensed to give advice on taxes. But I will say, if they can get the liquid loans as an example, if they can figure that out, and people don't get liquidated like we've seen in the past with all these other examples, and there's some type of ability to manage your risk, that could be a definite game changer, because then you can borrow against your crypto safely and then go and leverage that against other asset classes. I think that could be a way to potentially go buy a cash flowing building while still having your crypto, and it's sitting there appreciating, and then you're also buying something that will give you tax shelter, appreciation, depreciation, all kinds of added benefits by buying real estate while still having your crypto.
Well, out of the same reason, I never talk about any tax advice, because I'm not a tax advisor, right? Just like you do. And then also it's so personal. Everybody is in a different situation. So basically you can never talk about that.
Yes.
So the Red Girl is saying liquid loans, a game changer. It seems like it's definitely something you have looked into it, and I also love the idea of liquid loans. But are there other coins outside of the Richard Hart ecosystem? Because I remember thinking about that while I was reading the book. The book was only about HEX, PulseChain, and about PulseX as well. But we have a lot of coins that we all like. Are there any innovations that you really like that you would maybe pitch to onboarders?
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to show here. I love PulseX and PulseChain. I'm thankful to be early sacrificer to both of those projects. So that I'm excited for that. I think there's only 41,000 wallets that sacrificed to PulseChain. So I think that's pretty cool in the world to be one of those 41,000. I'm excited for that. I think, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum have been the most proven just because of the time that they've had in the market. So, I think there's a future for them. And then, if you wanted to get outside of the Richard Hart product space, then, look at L1s. I think L1s have historically done the best in terms of return. If you're going to put money outside of the Richard Hart product sphere, I'd look at L1s. There's, several of them out there that are on sale at a huge discount right now. So if you believe, that's one of the things that I think that is really kind of occurred to me more and more, is just what's your conviction in crypto? How much do you believe in it? And what's your time horizon? Do you think this is something that in 10 years will be here and have a $12 trillion market cap? I personally think it does. So when you're looking at sub 1 trillion right now, there's a lot of opportunity where you could almost throw a dart and just participate in crypto and put some money in the top 50 cryptos and just wait. And some will make it, some may not. But if you averaged it out, I think the potential there, just with, like they say, the rising tide floats all ships. We're going from sub 1 trillion to 5 trillion to 10 trillion and beyond over time. How can you not benefit from that just by participating and being patient?
I believe so too. And in the HEX ecosystem, it's so beautiful, right? We have the numbers. These are facts. The HEX ecosystem, the staker class staking for 6.6 years, showing this kind of dedication, right? And now where else you can show this kind of dedication with your money, where it's hard locked and the truth engine is watching over you.
Yeah.
And we have Black Hexican here asking, how much does the book discuss PulseChain and PulseX?
I would say there's probably at least a chapter in there that discusses what the potential is, what PulseChain was designed to do, along with PulseX. And I talk about how other L1s have performed from its launch in the past. I discuss the problems with Ethereum and kind of what I felt like the reasons why Richard went ahead and launched these products. That we all tend to believe the reasons are. And I would say there's a decent amount of information in there.
Let's talk a little bit about PulseChain and PulseX. You mentioned the number a little bit, and I think I made a post about that. That's why I should remember. So for PulseChain, $600 million have been sacrificed. And then with PulseChain together, it was 1.2 billion, I believe. And Mehdi mentioned the number 120,000 people sacrificed, right? A little bit less for PulseChain, a little bit more for PulseX. And so let me ask you this. What do you see has more potential in short term, in the first 6 months, in the first year, and then maybe what is the best for the long term? What is just your gut feeling, I would say?
PulseChain, I think, takes the vote for both. Only because short term, because so many people miss that opportunity. So there's probably a little bit of the FOMO piece in there where they're wanting to get into that when they obviously, in hindsight, realized what it would become. So in the short term, I think you have that. And then in the long term, again, just because historically a layer one is performed better than, a DEX. And not that the PulseX won't do well. I think they're both going to do extremely well. But I'm just historically looking at, if I was going to have to pick one, it's PulseChain. There's like I said, there's only 41,000 versus I think twice as many or more sacrificers for PulseX. And you don't have PulseX if you don't have PulseChain. You don't have a PHEX if you don't have PulseChain. So it's going to give the world's largest airdrop. I mean, that alone is mind blowing. And then the fact that the gas fees are a fraction of a penny, and the fact that I talk about this in the book. I think it's globally speaking, only 3% of people have ever transacted in crypto, and Ethereum already has a problem with high traffic and high gas fees. It's congested. 3%. So what happens when it's 13%? What happens when it's 33% of the global population transacting in crypto? I absolutely think 33% is not a crazy number. When we're talking about the amount of people in the world, that's a lot of people. We're going to need, in the future, I think there's going to be a multi L1 blockchain, ecosystem. And PulseChain is going to be a top 2, 3, 5, I don't know, top 10 certainly. And that's where you want to be. And nothing else exists without the L1 there. That's just my opinion.
Oh, 100%. You mentioned a lot of good points for PulseChain actually dominating the market. And I had a little bit of a different opinion. I thought like PulseX was really good because I was looking into the buy and burn function, for example, of each. And I think a lot of YouTubers also made this calculation. If there's just a normal volume that we take from Uniswap, if PulseX would have the same $600,000 would be bought and burned every single day, and this is such a great pumper mental. So my opinion is that PulseChain will pump in the first 6 months because of the reason that you mentioned, that less people sacrifice and their FOMO should be a little bit higher. But then in long term, I believe PulseX gonna make the race and will outperform everything.
Well, I put 3 times the money in PulseX than I did PulseChain, so I'm not mad either way. Like I think I'd be happy either way.
And it's crazy. Like we have seen some whales that have actually done the opposite, right? That sacrificed way more for PulseChain and less for PulseX. So we have various players in the ecosystem. It's definitely going to be great when it's launched. So Matt, I definitely have to ask you the question, because people ask me the question, when does it launch, right? And 1 year ago, I was already wrapping a PulseChain car and doing the tour, talking about it every single week. But what do you tell your onboards? When is PulseChain going to launch?
I had to go back and edit the book because I had it, ready for May. I thought May was the time. I was for sure. I thought that was going to happen, but I'm not sure. With everything going on and the fact that they're rewriting code, I didn't know if that was kind of a BS thing at first, but it sounds like that's actually what happened. And then the timing of the market, people have their theory that Richard wants to time the bottom. I get it. I don't think the bottom is in. I think, we have so many compensating factors with interest rates rising, with political turmoil, with war happening, with the dollar, inflation in the United States, the amount of money that was printed, of the total supply. There's just so many things, so many variables. I still believe that we have more to bottom out with Bitcoin. I tend to agree with Richard that 85% correction is still on the table, so that takes us to 12,000 ish. I don't think it sits there. I think it could touch that and then get bought back up. So I think once we see total capitulation, when does that happen? Some people say November. Does that give enough time for the developers to finish and feel good about the code? Nobody knows. So to answer your question, it might be 2023.
Yeah, well, 2023 is actually also what we measured in, because we want to do our million pulse tour, and therefore we need PulseChain to launch, because we want to do a lot of transaction. So we decided to also put our tour to the first sector of 2023. But obviously we all have the hope that it's launched earlier. Like you said, the bottom probably not in right now. We are waiting for more blood in the market. And I do not really believe that Richard is really trying to time the market. I think he wants to have a product that has 100% uptime, just like HEX. And when it's done, it will be released. And how I understood it is that it's two teams working on it. And whatever team is done earlier, this version will be released. Well, we had a lot of people here in the chat talking to each other a little bit about the book and so on. So right now we are getting to the end of our interview here. It's the right time for everybody to like and subscribe. And Matt, I want to ask you one of the last questions. Are you one of those people that think about PulseChain and what price could be the launch? Or do you just let it happen, let the market evolve, because you're not going to sell anyways? What kind of person are you? What could be the launch price for Pulse and PulseX?
I think I've worn out my calculator with potential outcomes. I think that's a natural thing all of us have probably done. The gentleman that I've watched a few of his videos, I can't recall his name right now. He did some calculations that I thought were very down to earth. And I really liked kind of his breakdown. It was mathematical, of course. I'm the last person to have anything to say mathematically. I don't even know how I passed some of my college courses in mathematics. I'm horrible in that. I'm more of like fly by the seat of my pants type guy. So I don't know. I think there's probably a couple zeros in front of PulseChain, and I think there's probably 3 zeros in front of PulseX at launch.
All right, so 3 zeros on PulseX, that's what I got out, and a couple of zeros on PulseChain. On PulseX, I really do not have any idea, because like I did a really bad price estimation for HEX on our tour, and it never came true. So I don't really like price estimation. So I want to say all of my price estimations are based on memes. So for PulseChain, I will say it will be 0.000 and then a 7, because I like the 7 so much. So 3 zeros when we start. That is what I believe. And then we do not know where it could go, right? It could shoot up right away, give us more X, or it could go down because we're in a bear market. Who knows? So I'm definitely the one, because I don't do the math and look what could the price be. I want the price to the chart to evolve. I want to see how the actors are playing, because I have my HEX, right? Everything is staked. I sacrificed for PulseChain, for PulseX, so I don't need to do anything. And I think this is how I play it. Just really, really safe.
I agree with you.
Matt, what are you up to these days? You already said you want to concentrate a bit more on YouTube. The book is written. Don't think there's too much work on that anymore. What are your future plans?
Yeah, so I'm here hanging out. I still run businesses. I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I don't ever think there'll be a day where I like retire. I don't know what I would do. I'm a family man. I have 2 young boys. I'm teaching them about the power of cryptocurrency. My boys know what HEX is. My boys know who Richard is. So I think that's kind of cool. I've set up 15-year stakes for them. So, they're definitely going to, understand what cryptocurrency is. If they don't already know now, I think they do. So I'm teaching them and spending time with them and my family. So that's important to me. I live in Florida, so it's beautiful here. So, I enjoy spending time outside here, playing a little golf here and there. And then, who knows? I continue to try to provide positive impact to the community, to people that follow me online, and continue to, try to reach the next best version of myself and whatever God created me to be, and to try to become that man.
You see it already here in the chat. KSB TV is saying Pulse Master, since you mentioned golf. Did you know that we have a golf tournament coming up? It's funny that I somehow get to chill that. On the 5th of September, we are kicking off PulseCon. Are you coming to PulseCon?
In Vegas? I haven't bought a ticket yet, but that haven't ruled it out. Where's the golf tournament?
The golf tournament is one day before, and we are officially cooperating with PulseCon, and it's also in Vegas. We planned a nice event for Hexicans to come together, play golf. You can win cryptocurrency prizes and stuff like this. Yeah, right now we are going on live streams to all the Hex YouTubers to tell them about the Pulse golf tournament, because this is like the kickoff for the PulseCon, and like will raise money for the Million Pulse Tour. So we want to make this a really big success. And when you want to think about that, like we can definitely have a discussion in the green room. I think Kaylin is bringing up the golf tournament right now.
Awesome.
So Matt, it was a great time having you here. Thanks for coming and spending your time explaining everything about the book. I think it was really interesting for our viewers. Do you maybe have a question for us, for KSB TV?
No question. I wanted to publicly thank you, though, for helping me with the book and writing the foreword. It was I really appreciated, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't put out something that wasn't going to be well received, or I made mistakes. So I was very kind of nervous about that. I actually debated releasing the book because of what was going on with the market. But, after getting your feedback and input, you helped me feel a little bit more confident in that. So thank you so much for writing the foreword and for reviewing it and giving me your feedback. So a lot of this is credit to you too, David.
Thank you so much. It was really an honor for me. And I must say, I'm 24 hours thinking about Hex, right? And all those things that you were talking about, cryptocurrency, I've read them somewhere, because just I'm so much involved in the space. But at the end, I was learning a lot. And then I realized this is a great asset. So I really want to tell everybody, try to get your hands on the book, on the hard copy paper. I love to put it in my shelf. And then just tell everybody that you onboard that this great book is out there, because it is a big value for everybody, because you just learn everything that you need to know from strategies, from security, from the power of cryptocurrency in this book. So thank you, Matt, so much for writing it. Thanks for being here with us on the stream. I also want to thank everybody in the chat for making some noise. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And this is already the end of our show. We see us in a couple of days when it is Thursday again, and we will talk a little bit more about the cryptocurrencies that we all love. Well, thank you, guys. See you soon.
Thank you, everybody.